I'm Dr. Firnhaber. Tonight we're going to be talking about the thyroid. And this is more of a functional medicine talk than a chiropractic talk. And the reason that I like to do functional medicine talks is because they're on subjects that people are really not very informed well on. And the thyroid would be one of those talks. Most people, there's millions of people with thyroid problems in the United States. Some have been diagnosed, some of them haven't been. And thyroid causes a lot of problems. And at the end of this talk tonight, you're probably going to know as much about thyroid as many general practitioners do. And I know you don't believe that, but it's true. And so the talk will be a half an hour. And one of the reasons that I do these talks, and people that have been to these before know this, is I want you to make deeper, more intelligent decisions, when it comes to your health. I want you to ask your health practitioners better questions and understand how your body works rather than just try and get a reduction in pain and symptoms. Are symptoms important? Yeah, they are. And that's why most people come in to see me. But I want you to understand that your body, the way your body works, is more than just whether you have symptoms or not. And health is a lot more than just the absence of pain. So we'll just go ahead and get started. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about what is a thyroid and what does it do, symptoms of thyroid dysfunction, other lifestyle, toxic, metabolic, and environmental causes of thyroid dysfunction, how thyroid relates to the gut, how do we evaluate the thyroid, and what are some of the natural treatments that we do for the thyroid. So the thyroid is a butter-shaped structure that lies in the windpipe right below the Adam's apple. So I want everybody to put their hands right here, right down here. You can feel it, okay? And it should not be tender. You don't have to choke yourself. It's okay. Not that hard, all right? All right. So put it right down here. It shouldn't be tender and it shouldn't be inflamed, okay? And so it's right below the Adam's apple. And when it's tender or when it's inflamed, that's usually not the best sign, okay? The thyroid gland influences the rate of metabolism in the body. So how fast your body burns fat and sugar, how fast you grow, all of that is determined by the thyroid. It produces a substance called T4, and the drug, as we'll learn a little later in the talk, levothyroxine is a synthetic form of T4, okay? So T4 is converted to T3. So TSH is the primary marker that's measured in physicians' offices, and I'm going to show you later on that's not nearly good enough, but it's produced by the pituitary gland, thyroid stimulating hormone. And thyroid stimulating hormone comes down and tells the thyroid to produce T4, okay? And so if the thyroid is not working right and it can't produce enough T4, the TSH will keep going up. Your body will keep producing more TSH because there's this feedback mechanism that says when the body's produced enough T4, the pituitary gland senses that and stops telling the thyroid to produce it. So elevated TSH stops this process. Elevated TSH usually indicates a thyroid dysfunction, but I see lots of thyroid problems with normal TSH. Okay, so if we look at functions of T3 and T4, it's increase body temperature and metabolic rate, increase the breakdown of fat. It plays an important role in normal growth and development. So children that are born with thyroid dysfunction are not going to grow very well. They have a direct effect on the heart function, have a significant effect on bone turnover, and affect the central nervous system. They're essential for mental development. Now, if we look at T4, and I'm just going to show you, these green things are thyroid molecules on this or thyroid atoms on this molecule. That's T4. So you got 4 thyroid molecules. You take one off down here, you just remove one. Now you got T3. Completely changes the way your body functions. And then if you add this one and take this one away, then you have reverse T3. Now reverse T3 puts the brakes on the body's metabolism. So you don't want a lot of that. You want some of it, but not a lot. But you see, all you got to do is change where you take the thyroid atom off, and that'll go from T3, which speeds up the system, to reverse T3, which slows it down. So think of T4 as crude oil that's pumped out of the ground, okay? That's a good way to remember it. Think of T3 as crude oil that's been refined into gasoline. So you have to convert T4 to T3. So remember, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, tells the thyroid to produce T4. T4 has to be converted into T3. Now, this conversion requires specific minerals, which we'll go into a little bit later. Signs and symptoms of thyroid dysfunction. If we look at hyperthyroid, you've probably seen people with this, like goiter, rapid heartbeat, tremors, AFib, nervousness, loose bowels. That could all be signs of hyperthyroidism. And you see here, this girl's got a goiter right there. That's typical of a thyroid issue. That's usually a goiter comes from not enough iodine in the diet. Okay. Now, if we look at low thyroid, we don't have to go through all of these, but it goes from everywhere from anxiety and panic attacks to constipation to decreased memory to hair loss in front and back of the head. Excess earwax is a good example of low thyroid. Depression, headaches, lots of things, okay? Common problems caused by thyroid dysfunction that you see. How often do you see this? Panic disorder and anxiety in our culture. You see it a lot, okay? I'm not saying all of that's caused by thyroid. A lot of it is, okay? Obesity, sexual dysfunction, edema or swelling, fibromyalgia-like symptoms. See that a lot from thyroid. And these are all the scientific references where all that came from. Lifestyle factors which can lead to thyroid dysfunction. High stress, okay, which elevates cortisol levels. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So high stress over time can lower thyroid function. Chronic dieting. I know nobody has ever heard of anybody that's done that, but they're out there, okay? Wow. Weight gain and obesity. Toxic exposure. What are some of the toxins that we're exposed to nowadays? Anybody? What's something that we've all been encouraged to be exposed to in the last year and a half?
Immunizations.
What?
Vaccine.
Well, I would say most recently vaccine, and there's some toxicity in vaccines, but those hand sanitizers, there's those, the reason it kills germs is because it's toxic. And by the way, the stuff's absorbed right through your fingernails. Your fingernails are very, very porous. And so when you get toxic compounds on your hands, that goes right through your fingernails into your blood and into your bloodstream. So if you're around gasoline a lot, gasoline's pretty toxic. Toxic fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, those things are toxic. So there's lots of things we can be exposed to that are toxic. Diabetes is associated with thyroid issues, dietary issues, gluten, food intolerances, lack of exercise. Any of these factors can lead to hypothyroidism. So let's look at the role of the adrenal glands. First of all, tell me, who knows where the adrenal glands are? Okay, so
Kidney.
where are they? Where are they?
Kidney.
They're located
Where-
right
where-
On the kidney.
On the kidneys,
Yeah.
right? So they're about right here. You got
They're in
two
the
of them.
back.
Okay, they're about the size of walnuts. If you get rid of your adrenal glands, you die. Okay, they do a lot of things. So the adrenal glands in the thyroid normalize. What they do to your body is they help with endocrine function and help you resist stress. So people that have long-term stress, just unending, their adrenal glands get exhausted, and that leads to chronic fatigue and endocrine disorders, blood sugar problems. So thyroid and adrenal go together like two players on the same team. When one struggles, the other one is taxed as well. So we support the adrenals from specific nutritional formulas that rebuild adrenal function. Now, how can you tell if your adrenals are low or if your thyroid is low? We'll show that in a minute. But if you measure your body temperature over a month, okay, and you measure it like right before you get up in the morning, and you chart it, and it's kind of all over the map, okay, up and down, up a few days and down a few days. That's a classic adrenal function, okay? An erratic up and down body temperature, but you do the body temperature and it just stays consistently lower than what it should be, that would be thyroid. And that's an inexpensive way to do it, to determine whether you have a problem in that area. So metabolic and toxic factors that diminish thyroid function, any kind of liver dysfunction will cause problems in the thyroid, because the conversion of T4 to T3 happens in the liver, the kidneys, and then other tissues in the body. Kidney health, which is usually diminished from medication. Heavy metal accumulation, cadmium, mercury, and lead, which can come from diet or environment where you work, can also do it. How about toxicity, like fluoride is very toxic to the thyroid. Pesticides, radiation, dioxin, and I have a whole talk on this. Essential mineral deficiency, selenium, zinc, and iodine, absolutely essential to thyroid function. You cannot convert T4 to T3 without selenium. Okay, so where would you get selenium in your diet? Where would be a good way to get it?
Brazil nuts.
Yes, bingo. I'm glad you got that. You should get a prize for that. It was a good answer. Brazil nuts are very high in selenium. So if you eat 2 or 3 Brazil nuts a day, you're going to get enough selenium. Okay. There's also high selenium yeast that you can get that works pretty well. But yeah, Brazil nuts are real good. There's other things that are high. Other nuts have selenium in it, but Brazil nuts are really high. Medications like beta blockers, birth control pills, estrogen, lithium, chemotherapy, glucocorticoids like prednisone. These are all really hard on the thyroid. So there's also a thyroid gut connection, and the thyroid function is directly associated with how well your digestive system works and empties. It has to do with gallbladder and liver production, or gallbladder, the way the gallbladder produces bile, gastric emptying or gastric acid production in your stomach, which is really important, and small intestinal bacterial balance. And there's this balance between the thyroid and the gut. So cutting edge research shows that autoimmune thyroid problems in general can be linked to gut problems. Okay, so leaky gut issues have to be addressed. So the leaky gut, which means that if you look at the cellular lining of your GI tract, it should be nice and and solid like this. But when it starts to come apart because of food intolerances and toxicity, what happens is that creates an inflammatory process in the thyroid, which causes thyroid dysfunction. So if your gut is not working right, that's why I concentrate so much on gut issues here, because gut issues cause so many problems in the body. So here's something that you need to know. If you look at Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is basically low thyroid autoimmune disease, which is a lot of people have it right now, a major factor is gluten intolerance. And that's because part of the gluten molecule looks like thyroid. Okay, so it resembles thyroid. And so you have, if this looks like thyroid, and this is an antibody, okay, and you have an antibody, and this is gluten, so you see part of the gluten molecule actually looks like the antibody. So your body, if your body's building up antibodies to gluten because it's intolerant to gluten, those antibodies can go after the thyroid because there's some similarities there. So that's why I recommend that whether you test for a food intolerance or not to gluten, if you have autoimmune thyroid disease, you should probably avoid gluten for this reason here. Now, gluten mimics thyroid tissue, which causes the immune system to attack the thyroid. So, molecular mimicry is also caused by a lot of plant lectins. So lectins are a form of protein found in lots of different plants, and they can create digestive, weight, and autoimmune problems in the body. Not everybody has a problem with plant lectins, but a lot of people do. They're found in grains, legumes. Nightshades are a big issue, like potatoes, tomatoes, peppers. There's one other one I can't think of right off the top. Eggplant, there it is right there. So these are nightshades right here. And sometimes you can have a problem with these and not even know it, and they can be affecting your thyroid. One of the most harmful lectins is wheat germ agglutinin, which is found in wheat. And these lectins can contribute to leaky gut. So a lectin-restricted diet might be helpful if you're dealing with arthritis, diabetes, heart disease, irritable bowel, obesity, and thyroid dysfunction. So how do we evaluate the thyroid? So iodine can be an important measurement. Just recently, within the past few years, they've developed a blood test for iodine. Never used to be able to be tested like that. So that's a brand new thing. Iodine's notoriously hard to test. As we know, it plays a principal role in the production of thyroid hormone. Iodine also modulates the effect of estrogen on breast tissue, and low iodine plays a role in uterine fibroids. So if you have uterine fibroids or you have breast fibroids, chances are that you're low in iodine. It's a big deal. Iodine's involved in the conversion of estrone to estradiol, which are the three forms of estrogen. So what causes low iodine? Well, there's no iodine in the soil where we live. And what foods would you say would be high in iodine? Fish, yeah, seafood, exactly. We're not exactly near an ocean, so we're not eating a lot of seafood. Another thing that affects iodine is our intake of bromine and fluoride. So what's our major source of fluoride? Toothpaste is a big one. How about water?
Yeah, water.
And city water, yeah.
So city water puts fluoride in. That actually affects the thyroid. Okay, so we'll talk about bromine here in a minute, but once bromine and fluorine are absorbed, they bind to these receptors in the body and they sort of push off thyroid, or iodine, excuse me. So sources of bromide: flame retardant, hot tubs, medications, bakery products. Brominated flour used to be iodized. Remember way back in probably the 60s when they used to put iodine in flour?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Now they put bromine in it.
Hmm.
And bromine is not, I mean, the body has no use for bromine at all. You know, bakery products use brominated white flour. Brominated vegetable oils like Mountain Dew, Gatorade, Squirt, Sundrop contains brominated vegetable oils which affect the thyroid. Not good. And there is this teenage girl who went on this she really brought this to the, she went on this crusade against brominated vegetable oils because she found this out. And all these young kids are drinking these soft drinks that are killing their thyroids. They're going to develop thyroid problems by the time you're 35 or 40. Sources of fluoride. So we know, Listerine, certain mouthwashes, drinking water, toothpaste, fluoride dental treatments. There's natural fluoride in a lot of tea, believe it or not. Processed cereal, wine, beer, and soda contain fluoride. And medications like Prozac, Paxil, and the fluoroquinone antibiotics like Cipro would be one. Levaquin would be another one. So fluoride is in a lot of the stuff that we're exposed to. So how do you measure thyroid function? Well, you can do the body temperature test, like I said before. You just measure your body temperature for a month, and that'll tell you, if it's consistently low, then that's going to be a problem. Body temperature reflects an individual's metabolic energy. A temperature below 98.6 consistently represents a less than optimal state. So there's several ways you can do this. You can take it orally 3 times during the day, 3 hours apart. You can take it right before you get out of bed. That's another way to do it. They use a Germa, it's called a Geratherm thermometer, which is pretty easy to get. It's harder to get the old mercury thermometers now. Those are probably the most accurate, but the Geratherm works pretty well. And you just plot it 30 days on a graph and see how well your thyroid's functioning. Okay? It's it's a very inexpensive way to test thyroid and adrenal. So, what are some lifestyle measures that we can take for low body temperature and thyroid issues? So, we can reduce our stress. And, for some of us, that's probably easier said than done. Okay? Regular moderate exercise, especially short sprinting, like high intensity short runs is really good. Detoxification, high far infrared sauna is really helpful. Organic foods to avoid pesticides can be very helpful. Is anybody here trying to eat organic?
Mm-hmm.
Besides me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Yep.
I can't do it all the time, but I do as much as possible. Avoid gluten and other lectins and aspartame and excess alcohol, which can really help. Get adequate rest, good whole food, multivitamin, and good nutrition. So why not use T4 like Synthroid or levothyroxine when TSH is normal and body temperature is low? I mean, I can tell you why not to use it even if TSH is high. But first of all, it doesn't help impaired conversion. So if you have a T4, let's say your T4 is low and you bring it up, but you have to convert it to T3. So if you're low in zinc and selenium, it's not going to convert. Okay, so you're seeing a lot of T4 sitting around, but it won't convert to T3, which is really what you need to run your metabolism. If symptoms do not improve with T4 containing medicine, if they do improve, they tend to recur when the T4 is discontinued. So you haven't really fixed the thyroid problem. And by the way, when the thyroid has been in an autoimmune condition for a long, long time, sometimes it's not going to be corrected completely. You're always going to have to, take something to help it work. Okay, that's just what I found. Here's a classic story of T4, better for 2 to 3 months and worse again, or worse right off the bat. This is a test I've used with some thyroid patients. It's a wheat zoomer test. It was a very accurate measurement of leaky gut and autoimmune issues, which cause thyroid dysfunction. And there's a blood test which I use this a lot because it can really tell me what's going on. It'll test TSH, total T4, free T3, reverse T3, your autoimmune antibodies. Those are the primary tests which I need to determine how a thyroid is going to function. And here's what I've seen. I've seen this so much. Normal TSH, elevated autoantibodies. So the person has autoimmune thyroid disease, but their TSH is normal. Okay? Why do you think that is, by the way? Why doesn't the TSH go up? Anybody? That's kind of a hard question. Because it's in the early stages. So it's in the early stages of autoimmune disease. TSH won't go up. So they'll go to their physician. The physician will do a TSH test. It'll be normal. They say your thyroid's fine. But it's not fine. It may not be fine at all. I had a young lady in here. In fact, I invited her tonight. She didn't make it. But she was in here for hair loss. That was the primary reason she came to see me. And I was going to give her just some things to help her hair grow better. And I thought, we should probably do a blood test, just see what's going on with her. She had autoimmune thyroid issues. She didn't even know it. I wouldn't have ever guessed it just looking at her. Never guessed it. Okay? Yeah, so we treated her for that and some other things we found in the blood test. So these thyroid tests are really, really valuable. Now, you can like on your own at home do a 30-day temperature test, and if your thyroid's low, then you can say, well, maybe I should get my thyroid tested and find out why it's low. Okay, but these tests can really pinpoint a lot better in terms of what's going on. Sometimes the antibodies are fine, but you'll have a low T4 and a low T3. So what do you think that might be?
Not converting.
Not converting, okay, which is what?
I don't know.
Selenium.
Selenium. That's
Okay.
true. That's true.
Selenium and iodine deficiency.
Right.
And possibly zinc. Okay, zinc's really important too. So you may have selenium, iodine, and zinc deficiency, which could cause low thyroid issues without being autoimmune. Okay? So how do we treat all this? Oh, by the way, one other thing that I want to mention is the autonomic nervous system. This has to do with the way chiropractic can affect thyroid. Your thyroid has a nerve supply that comes out of your neck, the base of your neck. And so if you have neck issues, that can actually affect how your thyroid functions. Okay, and adjusting that over time can actually elevate thyroid function. So it can be a chiropractic issue partially. Okay, so how do we treat them? Well, I use all of these products are in a lot of the formulas I have. Dicrophin PMG is specifically for autoimmune thyroid disease. It's a standard process product. They're the only company that makes these PMG products. So you can dose it according to temperature. You can dose it according to blood work. Another product which can be really important with thyroid issues is a whole food complex vitamin C. because it contains an essential chemical called tyrosinase, very important for thyroid function. You know, your normal high ascorbic acid vitamin C's don't work very well, okay? It has to be a whole food complex vitamin C. So I would say, if you know of anybody who's suffering from thyroid issues, you know, have them come in and just talk to me, or they can call me on the phone and I can talk to them, because a lot of the drugs you're giving people are not fixing the problem. They're just not doing it. And they need the thyroid needs the nutrition in order for it to work properly. So, low-level laser, I've used that on thyroid very successfully. I know we've used it with you.
A lot.
Yeah, yeah, it works. It can work really, really well for just giving the thyroid, just powering up the thyroid and giving it a jump start. Good. So summary of thyroid. There's a lot of things that can affect it: toxicity, mineral deficiencies, food intolerances, adrenal issues. Body temperature is an inexpensive way to measure thyroid function. Functional medicine protocols such as detoxification, nutrition, low-level lasers can restore the thyroid and the adrenal function much of the time. So we're right at just 1 minute past 7. Any questions? Terry?
Do any other tree nuts contain selenium besides Brazil nuts, like hazelnuts, for instance? My dad used to eat a lot of hazelnuts.
Yeah, a lot of them contain some selenium.
Okay.
It's just that Brazil nuts have a lot of it.
Have more.
They have a lot, yeah. So nuts are a good source of minerals. But
Okay.
Brazil nuts, and for selenium, it's the bomb. Okay, it's really good. Anybody else?
What about a whole food vitamin?
I like Catalin, which is a standard processed product that I use. I like it a lot. I use it. I used to take it a lot. My body didn't want it anymore after a while, but I've used it a lot over the years. Very good product. Really good for the immune system. Good for a lot of things.
Another question, does just a regular daily vitamin for men or for women give you enough of the nutrients like zinc and selenium and
Well, like
magnesium?
what kind of vitamin? Because all vitamins aren't created
These are
equal.
Nature
That's true.
Valley, I think is what they call them. They're organic.
I don't know, Terry. I don't know
They're
because
organic. We both take that, and I like them.
yeah, I mean I don't know. They may and they may not. Depends, you know. I mean, like I said, not all vitamins are created equal, and a lot of those vitamins, especially the really hard ones, go right through the body and end up in the toilet. Okay, and these porta potty companies have attested to the fact that they pull out a lot of whole vitamins that have never been broken down. Okay, like one a day, Centrum, all of that, bunch of crap. Okay, so
I've heard of that, yeah.
yeah, so that's why I like standard process. I like to chew my supplements to make sure they're getting absorbed. Okay, I recommend everybody do that. All right, so I'm not saying they have the only good whole food supplement. They have a really good one though, so I like that one a lot.
A lot of those vitamins tend to have a lot of fillers, it seems like.
Yeah, a lot of them do. A lot of them do. That's right. Good. Okay. Thank you very much. Time to go home.